end, but and hopefully all of you can see my screen.
Lovely.
Yes,
Yeah.
see that? Great. So we are proud to present Piggy in the Middle. This is a webinar around that intersectionality of when you have parents at home and kids at home and you're stuck in the middle. So also known as the sandwich generation. I was speaking with somebody today who said that they are absolutely in that space. So it is our pleasure to be able to bring Ruth Oakden in to talk about this. And it is a very important subject. And she's got some great ideas for all of you that may be in this position or foresee yourself being in this position as your parents age. And your children don't leave home at 18. Before we get started, I would like to do an acknowledgement of country, and I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional owners of the land with which we meet today. I would also like to pay respect to elders both past, present and emerging of the Kulin Nation and extend that respect to any other Indigenous Australians present today. As always, I do like to talk about Women for STEM. You are all members, so you know the great programs that we run. But I did want to call out that this year is a Go Girl year, and we are anticipating having close to 2,000 students at this event for our 20th anniversary. It is our 20th anniversary and we have a lot of things on the agenda. So if you are not sure about what webinars we have, monthly member meetups that are coming up, please visit our website at www.women4stem.com.au to see what other events we have available to you as members. And please feel free, I do have a membership code for anybody who has friends that you would like to invite to become members of Women for STEM. There is a discount code and I would love it if you would share it with them at the end of this webinar. So before I get started, I will stop sharing my screen and we will get cracking. So I would like to introduce Ruth Oakden. Ruth and I have known each other for, oh my goodness, over 20 years. Ruth has a quarter of a century providing wellbeing, employee support and training for individuals, workplaces, communities and organisations within Australia and overseas. Her engagement with people traverses the day-to-day challenges as well as the big life issues. With 1 in 5 adults experiencing mental health problems, even more in younger age groups in some industries, workplaces have both the opportunity and responsibility to not only support their employees, but equip them with the knowledge, skills and confidence to recognise, understand and respond to a friend, family member or co-worker experiencing a mental health problem or mental health crisis. Mentally healthy, supportive and psychosocially safe environments are key to driving organisational well-being, productivity and ultimately success. But it's not always easy to see how your organisation can achieve this. Through Your Mental Health at Work, Ruth offers a range of opportunities to reflect on what can help you help your people. We can work together to build tailored training for your workplace or teams. Ruth Oakden, thank you so much for joining us at Women for STEM. I do anticipate others will join us. It is that terrible sweet spot for people to be putting kids to bed or getting food on the table, but we will continue on with this amazing conversation. We are recording this, so anybody that does miss out and they want to get access to this recording will be able to get this off of our YouTube channel and the links get shared. So shall we get started, Ruth?
Happy to.
Excellent. So why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and why you're so passionate about this sandwich generation?
So I am a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm an auntie, I'm a niece, I'm a grandma, I'm a mother-in-law and I'm a daughter-in-law. All those gendered terms that describe components of who I am are the things that both give me the power to achieve, but also work to diminish my capacity. The imposition of some of those titles imposes on me limitations that perhaps the fathers, brothers, uncles, etc. don't necessarily have. I was a child in 1975. And it was very, very exciting in the very first International Women's Year to see what power, what equality, what opportunity was going to be available to me and to my peers. It was exciting to be the child of a woman who felt that school wasn't the only place for full education, to be taken to so many of those meetings where the emerging voice of women in politics, in community activity and outside the home was really, really being felt. It was powerful, it was heady and exciting. 50 years later, this year's theme for International Women's Day was a call to action to unlock the equal rights, power and opportunity for all and a feminist future where no one's left behind. And it made me cold reading that by comparison with the goals of the 1975 International Women's Year, which were to promote equality between men and women and enable women to participate fully in economic, social and political life. How far we haven't come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's my daughter and the grandchildren, the granddaughters of my friends who are not going to have the opportunities that I believed I would have, because I just think the inhibiting factors perhaps are as, well, not as present as they were previously, but not far gone. Why am I passionate? I'm the daughter-in-law of a woman who was sacked because she was still working when she was pregnant. She was married and pregnant. Those two things together caused her to be sacked. I'm the daughter of a woman who had to argue the case to wear pants when she was on duty, trousers, a slack suit, in fact. And I'm the daughter of a woman who was banned from parent-teacher interviews because the length of her miniskirt didn't meet the standard required for parents at parent-teacher events, and it would disrupt the flow of the evening because the gentleman wouldn't be able to concentrate on what was going on because of the length or in fact shortness of her mini skirts. I'm the mother of a girl who caught the bus to go to work and spent week after week being stared at by a gentleman who was also catching the same bus. And when she finally said to him, do you know, it's really rude for you to stare at me every day when we catch the bus. And he said, why wouldn't I stare at you? You dress like a slut. And she said, I dress like an Australian teenager going to work, and this is the uniform I wear for work, and you should have more respect for me. They then had a big conversation about what respect means and doesn't mean and their different understandings of it. And Rachel really felt that she had made headway with this gentleman, older gentleman's understanding, until the day my son caught the bus with Rachel, and that gentleman shook my son's hand and congratulated them for having such an enlightened sister. So the privilege of having an enlightened sister was offered to my son, not to my daughter, who was the enlightened person. I like to do stuff as well. I like rock climbing. I like doing outdoor activities. But in my early rock climbing years, the girls held the belay ropes and boys did the climbing. Very, very few female names are listed as first ascents in those 70s and 80s, the heyday of new ascents in the Australian climbing world. I happen to be a very good friend of Brigitte Croque-Mur, who was the first woman to climb the 7 highest peaks. And they're not the only peaks she's soared above and achieved in her whole and interesting career. But, you know, why does someone like Brigitte stand out so significantly amongst all the other names of people who've also just put one foot in front of another and climbed a particular lump of rock? You know, we're proud that she stands out, but should we also be a little bit dismayed that she, even older than me, still is one of the only female names listed in that list of people who've climbed it to greatness? I interested in coming here today because as someone who had primary responsibility of two children, because I was a single parent, but also I have the primary responsibility for elderly parents. I have my mum's still alive. She's been an invalid for 25 years. And despite having three brothers, primary care of my mum, of course, fell on my shoulders. So as far as the piggy in the middle, the sandwich generation, I was expected to care for my primary school age children and attend to the needs of my, capacity limited mother. I'm also someone who's been married, and it intrigues me how it doesn't say in the any of the marriage services, it doesn't say, and you will take on full responsibility for your husband's parents, but it must be in there somewhere because it happens and it happens and it happens and again. Most recently, I had the opportunity to discuss with my husband who would take his mother shopping. And that's never really been an issue before because I look after my mum and Michael looks after his mum. But he said he felt it would be better if I took her shopping on this particular afternoon. And I said, what? Why? Why this particular afternoon would it be better for me to go shopping? And he said, because she needs some things. Always need some things. What things? Anyway, apparently I'm better equipped to purchase Vagisil and Depends than he is. I felt it was a case of going into the shop, looking along the displays, putting the things in the counter and paying for them, but apparently it's far more complex than that. That's part of why this is of huge interest to me. Can we play the song?
Yes, we can. So we have so Ruth has she sent through a little song that she wanted to have us play, and Victoria's going to do that now. This is a current song.
Something busy as a bee. Busy.
Oh, still going?
Mommy has a little girl as pretty as can be. Mommy has a little girl who helps her family. She is happy when she's helping, busy as a bee. Busy buzzing through the house, she helps so happily.
Did you see the heading?
Wow.
Educational songs. Now, if
Yes.
pause to vomit a little bit, I'm happy to take a moment because this nothing short of disgusting that is the quite overt message that we're giving to our children. There wasn't a similarly tuneful or aphoristically inappropriate or inaccurate version of a boys' song. And I just was gobsmacked that there was anything like that offered up as educational songs for kids at this point in time. How far haven't we come?
I think that's really important, Ruth, and I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to talk today. And you sort of touched on that, why women are generally the ones who are leaned upon when it comes to household admin, caring, and general organisation. But how does it then, and I think we talked about this when we were looking at sort of preparing for this webinar, is that what does it do to your career if you want to have a career as well? Suddenly you've got all of these things. So what happens to a woman when she has all of these things placed upon her? Is she happy as can be, her little busy bee? I mean, that's that whole trope of, work hard and you'll get what's offered, but you don't see that in the workplace. You still don't see
have
it.
your smile on your face. I mean, the whole
Yes, that
thing. Yeah. Look, there's the impact is it's ongoing and it's subtle and unsubtle. So I'm sure everybody is aware of the gender divide as far as life earnings. The not only life earnings but the dollar per hour that we're paid for the work we do each day. So there's an imbalance there. When female gendered people, for understandable reasons, take time off to actually produce the babies, that's fine. But, once we've gestated and once we've delivered, we have no greater skills or capacity than the other contributor to that baby's life to care for them. It feels to me like the nature of our dangly bits determines the flow of our life. If we've got dangly bits that, forgive me if it's a bit crude, but, split, splutter and leave. But if we've got dangly bits that nurture and continue to nurture, it's as if that nurturing of bosoms translates into the nurturing of supermarket, the nurturing of kitchen, the nurturing of laundry, the nurturing of changing nappies, the nurturing then of homework, the nurturing of choosing which schools people go to. But it doesn't stop with our children, because the assumption is that as we get through our life, and hopefully by about 37, our children have left home and are no longer financially dependent on us, we move into that spot where we think, actually, this is my time now. I can shine. I can take all my life learnings and recognition of prior learning from an educational perspective. I can throw my effort into it. I can meet some of the goals that I had set for myself that perhaps got put aside, probably got put aside because I was being a good mum, whatever that is, a good parent. And about a minute and a half after you've had that thought, the reality of parenting your parents, caring for your parents hits in. And of course, not only your own parents, but the parents of. And so we've now got a situation where we took time off to look after our children from our less paid, less perhaps secure employment. We now take time off to take our mums to their dentist appointments, our dads to their chiropodist appointments. We now give that up. We give our earnings and our career opportunities up to care for the older generation. Why? Because we've got that theme song so embedded in us. We're better at doing the caring things, at the nurturing things. And also our jobs are, for some reason, not as important. And so we take that role on. What worried me a lot about, looking at this elder care perspective is it's getting easier to find the statistics that tell us the much bigger percentage of parenting time adult women put into nurturing the next generation. There's much less information about how much time adult women take to care the previous generation. So the data isn't out there in the same abundance, but the reality of it is our generation who have children who stay home longer and parents, God bless them, who live longer, are more and more sandwiched, more and more piggy in the middle. The whole concept of piggy in the middle, the ball game, or the other version of piggy in the middle. So the ball game, piggy in the middle never wins. You're always bouncing from one to the other. And the other definition of piggy in the middle is being thrown into that gap between two different conflicting sides. So that's a no-win, and this is a no-win. And as much as it might be satisfying and rewarding to spend time with people who are older and wiser and have got stuff to share, it shouldn't be a decision made simply on the basis of my dangly bits.
Agree with that. So what do we do? What do we do, Ruth? How do we shift the dial? When you started talking about that, in the 1970s, what that looked like, I do see in workplaces things have shifted. They're not as appallingly bad as they used to be. They're not great. They're not anywhere near where we want them to be. But how do we shift the dial on this? What do we do? And you made mention when we were talking about sort of this conversation about setting the boundaries early on in the relationship. What if you are in the midst of all of this? How do you reset those boundaries? What do we do?
Yeah. So I think often when we fall in love and we begin relationships, we might have conversations about where we're going to live. We might have conversations about what lifestyle choices we make, what our priorities are. We might have lovely conversations about what kind of parenting. Oh, no, we won't let the children have screen time. Oh, no, we won't smack or yell at our children. Oh, no, we won't use the no word. It's easy to have those kind of conversations that set boundaries, expectations, but is about planning. And we all know that, the importance of planning and the importance of having some agility within those plans. The real issue, though, is that we have those conversations about all sorts of important things. Are we going to be vegan? Important. Are we going to be vegetarian? Important. Are we going to drive an electric car? Important. What suburb will we aspire to live in? Important. Do we let our children have their own iPads, or do we have no screen time at all and raised social pariahs? Really, really important conversations. Do we have as robust and perhaps challenging, confrontational, perhaps conversations about whose career takes precedence, whose day-to-day satisfaction is as important? And those conversations are the preliminary conversations for the next set of questions, which is about who becomes the primary carer for whom, or do we need a primary carer? Can we outsource it to people who are better at it than us? Can we share the burden between us? But with all things, we need to prepare and plan how we're going to do it. Otherwise, we fall into a heap. And when we fall into a heap, everybody goes to default positions, and default positions sound like that song. Default positions don't sound like shared care, shared responsibility, shared reduction of salary, shared career limitations, shared career expectations. Difficult conversations are called difficult conversations for a reason. We all shy out of them. I do mental health first aid training, and one of the topics that we discuss under that umbrella is when it's most appropriate to have a conversation with someone with a substance use disorder. And the answer, not so trite, but a little bit trite, is when neither of you have been using. So having conversations about substance use when both of you are sober. My feeling is we often leave the big piggy in the middle conversations till the crisis moments, when there's raised voices about who needs to pick who up from the birthday party, or who needs to do the birthday party present shopping. Big raised conversations about whose turn it is to go and pick mum up to come to the birthday parties, whose job it is to take mum to the dentist, because clearly those things are not things that we can plan for. Well, of course they are things that we plan for, but we don't. in that, there's always the risk that it's the female gendered person's responsibility to find time to have that conversation. So again, it becomes our job to clear the way, to put everyone in a good mood so that these conversations can happen. And you know what? Sometimes you're just too tired. Sometimes you're so busy doing all the other stuff of life that this is just one more responsibility, at which point it becomes, oh, I might as well do it anyway. So when we're talking to our children, when we're talking to our emerging adults, we need to be talking about, have you thought who's going to look after your mum, who's going to look after her mum? Have you thought who's going to take time off to go to the school events, who's going to do reading, who's going to do bath time and breakfast? Michael and I are big fans of IKEA. I'm sure if you know me at all, you possibly don't, but there has been the big Billy transformation of our home, and we have been using Billy bookcases to create the perfect home for ourselves. Do you think going to IKEA is always a domestically harmonious event?
Oh, I hate IKEA or IKEA. It's IKEA. I get panic attacks because I can't get out fast enough
You
because
can't.
every
No.
corner is just another thing, and it's like
Yeah, no,
I just came for a whisk.
So when we planned and decided that we were going to go with white and wood as a theme for our redecorated house, and you haven't got time for the conversation about what white means in a domestic situation, but another time perhaps. But we agreed that we were going to use the Billy bookcases as the foundation for putting all of our stuff. Some of the stuff was going to hidden behind doors. Some of the stuff was going to be on display. No problem. So we planned this, the IKEA assault, right? So that included timing for our visits to IKEA, the budget, how many Billies we could afford, how many Billies we aspired to, which colours. Were we going to go with the wooden Billies? They're not wood, don't. Or were we going to go with the plain white? Or we're going to get carried away with the dark blue ones, which you'd only buy for 6 weeks in a tiny space of time. We needed to agree to measuring devices and measured areas, and we had to have that previous conversation with regard to consumption of meatballs. There was also the need to discuss who was going to paint which IKEA things and who was going to research who and how was the best way to paint IKEA furniture. Car paint is the best one to go with, just in case you ever needed to know. And we also needed to agree who was going to be the owner of the Allen key and who was going to be the passer of the things that the Allen key goes into. Now, we're grown-ups, and Michael is a reasonably evolved human being, and so there was no assumptions made about Allen key ownership. There was no assumptions made about who would use the measuring device. There were lots of assumptions about the meatballs, and we were all bitterly, bitterly disappointed about those. What our great amount of preparation failed to include, though, was we hadn't really planned on how many times the painting would need to be done again. And can you see that the repainting and then the subsequent repainting and then the decision to cut it all back to bare wood and stain it might have had some challenges as far as relationship harmony is concerned. There was negotiation and there was renegotiation. There was COVID, which severely limited our capacity to go into IKEA and choose things ourselves. There was the demolishing of the old fireplace, and there was the awful week with the gas leak. There are many unexpected things that came from the very simple task of building Billy bookcases. I'm using that as an example that things are not always going to be as simple as we expect them to be. And being happily married, happily coupled people with the care and the compassion for the younger generation and the older generation, those things need us to sit down and discuss who's going to take which role in which responsibility, who's going to do what. And you can't do that when you're cranky. You can't do that late at night. And you need to do it when your parents are in their 60s, not when your parents are in their 80s. That also brings around the question of the kind of care and how I want to be cared for And how I'm happy to accommodate my mum being cared for may not be the same things, might they? My mum might have seen herself growing old in her own home with a bit of help with the house. A bit of help with the house might look like the grocery shopping, it might look like the vacuuming, it might look like washing the windows, cleaning the gutters out, it might look like deciding that the shopping needs to be done together, not separately. And this sounds like a whole other full-time job, doesn't it? And so some piggy in the middle, some member of the sandwich generation has to raise what future care looks like. And again, that's a conversation that is full of all of the emotional grief and distress, that sense of responsibility and failure, that sense of entitlement, both to living my old age as I want to and living my middle age as I want to. These things have to be discussed in as calm a way as possible, just like the IKEA conversations, hidden difficulties and barriers, but they need to be discussed as early as possible by all members of the game, by all members, all parts of the sandwich, by people at both ends of the piggy in the middle, but most of all by the person in the middle themselves.
And I think that's a really important point, is that we don't like hard conversations. We see it with leaders in organizations. They don't like to make the hard conversations. So they lose really good people because they don't make the hard conversations when someone's not pulling their weight. We see that in the home situation. And unfortunately, that little song that you played at the very beginning, Ruth, it was terrible, but we are conditioned. Women are conditioned to, that smile, would you? You should smile. You look nicer when you smile. We're not allowed to be angry. We can be passionate, but not too passionate. We can't be ambitious. We can't do all these things. There's so many societal norms that we're forced into. And even more so when you start looking at cultural norms of different cultures within our beautifully gorgeous multicultural Australia. And so we do find ourselves really stuck. And and ladies on this call, it takes courage to have these conversations. It also takes enlightenment from your partners, because your partner in crime, shall we say, may not have grown up with enlightened parents who've said, you need to put in as much as you take out of the relationship. My husband, as an example, his mother was a single mother. She lost her first husband, and then her second husband ended in divorce. She had 6 children to raise. There were 4 boys, 2 girls. They all had to get involved and do things. So when I had the same conversations with my husband about raising our son and then looking after his mother, all of those things, he was very equipped and able and wanted to stay home and be the parent. So we had that conversation. But those of you that know me know how well planned I am. And you're right, Ruth, it is about planning, but having the courage to raise that as a point of conversation now, because the longer you leave it, and you're right, as soon as a parent starts to hit, a parent at 60 is going to be more open to oh, look, you know what? Yes, when I get to a certain age, I'd like to go into a nursing home, but I want to choose that, and this is what I'd like. When they hit 70 to 80, it's like digging their heels in. I don't want to leave my home. It's my home. And then the other side of it is government is now saying, we want you to be able to stay at home longer, because there's that assumption that there's going to be a woman that's going to be there to be able to care for said parent. And if parents are anything like my mother-in-law, all of the organisation was done, people would come in to help and to things. She didn't want anyone in her house. It could only be the women she trusted to help her in her home. Right? So, you hear of the woman that's, she's burying her husband, but the mother-in-law is still there, and the mother-in-law needs help going to the bathroom, and it's the daughter-in-law's duty to help her while she's in the midst of massive grief. So we hear this and see this all the time. So I think what you're saying, and I agree with you, ladies, have the conversation, start the conversation now, because if you don't, you will be stuck. And if you want your career to not be shoved in the background, then you need to have the conversation now. I think the other side of it as well, Ruth, and I wanted to raise this, was this, I'm going to say it's an epidemic of women that are between 55 and 65 that are finding themselves the tail end of a divorce because they've been traded in for the newer model. And so they've done all of these things that they've needed to do to help, to be that caregiver, primary caregiver for the children, for the parents, and this and that. And suddenly they're disenfranchised and they don't have a home.
Yep. And even from, and I know several women in the situation where they're staying at friends, which is a polite way of saying homeless, staying with friends, this friend, this friend, this friend, they've got a nice rotation going on. God bless their good friends to let that happen. But are also still seeing the ex-husband's mum to make sure she's all right in her aged care facility. So they've lost their place in the world, as in, you know, the place that they can call home, but they've also retained their place in the world, which is carer of that next generation. And, you know, the few that I know in that situation, that's just my small little research selection group, isn't it? My mum waits for me to come and get her on the days that I go and take her out and we go and do fun things together. And my mum likes to be at least an hour and a half early for me. So she has plenty of time to sit in the foyer and watch. Excuse me. And she counts the number of female family members visiting her aged care facility versus the number of men. Excuse me, she's taken that on as a little exercise of her own. The first thing she says when she gets in the car is 4 to 18.
Yeah.
7 to 23. And whatever the numbers are, it's always significantly in the other direction, which either means that only women live in the Geelong area, or a significantly higher proportion of Geelongians are female, or it means that women are the only people who know how to get to the aged care facility because, you know, we've got better map reading skills, or it means that it's unfair distribution of that responsibility of visiting the people in aged care.
I think there's also this piece, Ruth, that you told me about, and it's not just that the physical load and the time, etc., but there's also the mental load that comes with constantly having to juggle the kids, the in-laws, etc. And I wondered, because we are coming to time, because this is an hour webinar, which has been fantastic. It's gone very quickly, hasn't it? Just letting you know. But what are some of the key tips that you would have for women outside of that plan now, start thinking about it, but that they could embed in their home life to reduce the mental load?
Yeah. Again, it worries me when we make it our job to reduce the burden on ourselves, because that's not unfair, but it's real, isn't it? And sometimes we're just going to have to own it and make it work rather than wait for somebody else to do it. And this fundamentally comes down to the virtue of self-care as opposed to the virtue of caring for others. Because of course, good girls care for others and put other people first. My auntie describes it as the towel phenomena. Oh, no, you have the good towel, right? I've got more hair than you have. I need the good towel. I need more soaking up. But no, you have the good towel. No, you have the last piece of cake. No, you have the ... that is better. That default that puts myself last, which is the antithesis of self-care. But, you know, when in our little educational song there, did we have her prioritising the things that she's passionate about, prioritising daydreaming, prioritising going for a walk and thinking about nothing, prioritising not putting other people first. When we learn to incorporate that self-care strategy, a number of miraculous things happen. We become better in ourselves. And that means we're more confident in saying no because we're prioritizing. So we're practicing saying no. no, I'm not doing that. I'm pretty sure you can do that too. If we begin that self-speak that allows us to say no, that allows us to say yes to the things that are best for us, then we develop in ourselves the habit of choosing rather than responding and reacting and defaulting to that care. So that we are able to say, actually, this is not good for me. And if it's not good for me, it's not going to be good for the whole picture. So what other solution do we have? I can do odds and evens with you. I'll look after my mum, you look after your mum, or even better, I'll look after your mum, you look after my mum, because then we don't have all the adolescent angst that we never really got rid of following us into that relationship. But gives us, when we begin to own our free time, when we begin to own the responsibility of creating free time by saying no to the busy time that's imposed on us by the needs of others. And when we feel good about that at the end of the day, because I'm setting an excellent example for the women I work with, I'm setting a good example, the women I care even more about, my own women in my own circle, when I'm setting a good example for future me, so that I will continue to develop the skills to default to self-care, so that my caring for others is better quality and not nearly as expensive for me, so that I don't wear myself out. And I think that fundamental twist of putting myself first, which sounds an awful lot like selfishness, doesn't it? Ooh, naughty, naughty. But actually, if we own, embrace, celebrate myself, so that I can be the best self for other people in planned and unplanned situations.
I think it comes down to affix your mask first. They say it when you're on a plane, put your mask on first, because then you can help others if you are taking care of yourself. Whoever's done first aid here, not mental health first aid, but just first aid,
doctors,
is, yes, take care of yourself, because you cannot take care of others if you are depleted. But we do, because it is societal norm. You're absolutely right, Patty. Self-care is not selfish. But how many of you on this webinar feel like, oh, it's a bit selfish? How many of you on this webinar have gone around with holes in your underwear so that your children have fresh clothes every day? We do that so that our husbands look better at work, so that they've got a new shirt for work. And we do it all the time because we're conditioned to. It even comes down to negotiating salary. Women do it appallingly as a general. In fact, those of you that are on here, we've got one of our in-persons, our Importance of Women event is coming up. If you have not got tickets to that, you need to come to that, because it is taking the ick out of money. Because I don't have this problem. Ruth and I have known each other for a long time. I do not suffer that. I don't really suffer that sort of thing, and I'm happy to have those conversations. However, I grew up in a family of 5 girls. My mother was an accountant. And so I've grown up with a very strong matriarchal figure. But for those of you that have been where you are constantly looked down upon if you don't do the right things, and you're not, having fun all day being the busy bee, I think that that's where it comes down to. And even though we sit back and we think, yeah, self-care is not selfish, how many of you are actually doing it?
Talking about that whole the salary situation, I've employed interviewed and employed people over the years, and 0 women have negotiated the salary package, and 98% of men have asked for a renegotiated salary package, because girls are thankful for what they get given, and boys are not embarrassed to ask for more.
That's exactly right. And so when you hear these lessons about this sandwich generation, if you're starting to see this playing out in your own world, plan the same way you would plan your career. And if you're not planning your career, I'll slap you. So start planning your career. Don't let your career happen to you, but also don't let this happen to you, because it's a slippery slope. Once you agree to the one thing, then when you sit back going, no, I don't want to do the next thing, then suddenly but you agreed to that other thing. So what's so different about this? And then you go, okay, I'll do that. And then you've agreed to those 2 things, and suddenly you've agreed to the 50 things and it's all gone out the window. You've got to start it now, those conversations now, right, Ruth?
Well, it's how I'm comfortable to treat myself. And if I'm comfortable to treat myself as a second-class citizen with less count to my vote than my male counterparts, with less salary than my male counterparts, if I'm allowing myself to accommodate and to be comfortable with those things, it is not a slippery slope. It's a sheer drop, isn't it? It's just right over the edge, and it becomes what I'm comfortable with for every aspect. I think for myself, whenever I think, oh, that's a bit rude, I think, is it, or is it a bit assertive? I think, oh, that's a bit selfish. I think, is it, or is that my fair due? You know, am I entitled to the good towel? Am I entitled to the good dollars? You know, when there's a last piece of cake, am I entitled to it? I'm not entitled to it. You should see the size of my ass. The point is, you know, choosing which things we prioritize or which things we don't prioritize. The size of my ass is actually to suit myself, because I'm going to have to buy a new climbing harness soon because I can't all get in my old climbing harness. This is a safety issue, not a beauty issue.
Question for you, Ruth. I have a question. What if these women on this call, or anyone that listens to this, comes up with resistance? Resistance from the kids, resistance from parents, resistance from partner.
So what is your main concern here? Are you worried that it's me doing it, or are you worried that if I don't do it, you'll have to do it? Because those aren't equal events, right? They're not equal and opposite events. So if I don't do it, what other solution can we find to get it done? Is it, whatever it is, something that can only be managed in-house, or is it something that we can get someone external to do? So don't get into the defense mode. Get into the strategy to solve mode. And again, we do try, when we feel a bit guilty about what we're doing, we fall into the defense mode and we're suddenly on the back foot. But we need to raise it and say, yeah, okay, that's a valid concern. How do you think we could better solve it? And if their answer is, well, I think you'd be better at it, why? What is it that makes me intrinsically better at A, B, C, D than you are? And perhaps this is a great opportunity for you to learn A, B, C, D, so that when we need it done again, you're as capable as I am. Opportunity for growth and learning. You know, so really don't own the responsibility to defend, open the conversation for discussion. And you know what? Ultimately, sometimes you might end up saying, yeah, okay, valid point, I'll do it. And sometimes you might, you know, convert somebody to thinking more broadly about what the situation is. When the Depends Vagisil incident occurred, ultimately I offered to do it because there was so much blushing and confusion, and also really not knowing what they were asking for, that I said, well, okay, I will do that. But my mum needs M&Ms. My mum always needs M&Ms. So you do the grocery for the mums and I will do the chemist for the mums. So, you know, we found a solution that we could all cope with. I didn't take on both the supermarket and the chemist for both the mums. But discussing the why of, obviously, the why of the concern, the confusion, the confrontation that we've got here, is, I find, an important way to get around it, to restate their concerns. So you think I should do the shopping because for some reason you think I'm better at shopping than you are. What makes you think that? So letting them justify their position rather than you justifying yours.
I have heard from other women who've said to me, well, my husband just said it's my job. That's my job. Cooking is my job. Cleaning is my job. And I have heard that. And I think that can be quite contentious in some households. So
I'm only burnt down 2.5 kitchens, and for some reason with that particular skill set, nobody ever lets me do the cooking. But when I went hunting for Michael, I found someone who is a chef and has a cookery book that he's published. So in our relationship, cooking is his job, and so is supermarket his job. But you know what? So is cleaning the kitchen after dinner, because in our relationship, earning the dollars is my job. So we don't even do that classic you cook it, I clean it. All the things that happen in that room in between the dining room and the laundry are his responsibility. And so we've worked our own set of criteria for how things are done. And that comes from being in a mature, perhaps, relationship to start with. People who had created their own lives when they came together, and maybe having the conversation with your new people who are newly in love in their early 20s, having a conversation about, apart from the fact that he's perfect, what would be perfect in your whole relationship for both of you.
Brilliant. All right, well, we're almost at time, Ruth. Anyone on this call have any questions for Ruth? Or any comments?
Yeah, setting the scene for your children. They learn from your example, Chris. And we actually do have a responsibility to be a good example for our upcoming generation.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
My son. Can I jump in?
Go.
So when Rachel, my daughter, was about 4, she said, "Mummy, I know the difference between doctors and nurses." And I had that horror moment. What was she going to tell me? The difference between doctors and nurses. And she said, doctors have straight hair, nurses have curly hair, because that's how she'd observed the differences. And I like to think she's kept her more open view of discerning who does what job, where and when.
I think that it's really important with our kids. If you've got younger children, teach them how to adult, because that's really what we need to do. And I see that, and I did that with my son. He knows how to cook. He actually cooks some things better than I cook. He likes to teach me how to cook steak, but I don't like steak blue. But look, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to share my screen, let you all get back to maybe having a bit of dinner, etc., with family. Please do take a quick snapshot of our Piggy in the Middle survey. We'd love to hear your thoughts. It's a short survey. It just helps us bring you as our members webinars and things that you want to see and hear about. Please visit our website, as I said before, if you want to get any indication of what we've got coming up. We've got a huge menopause workshop coming up soon in the coming months. We've got a lot of things on. So please do have a look at our website. Hopefully you've all gotten that survey link. And then for any of you that have some friends that you think would love to join us as part of Women for STEM, we have an offer code there, MEM79, at that link on our website. You all know the great benefits of being professional members with us, so please do feel free to share that with your friends and family if they are interested in joining our association. Just remember that it is open to men and women, so it is not just women that need to come, that can join up. Thank you very much, Ruth. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. It's been a great conversation. Thank you all. Ruth is going to be delivering another session for us in the coming months, where we will be talking about those life-changing events. And that is going to be open to more than just members. That's one that we feel needs to be open to our broader community. Please do have a look at that particular webinar. So life-changing events, whether death in the family, death of a partner, divorce, etc. Really something that Ruth has a lot of experience, having worked in the mental health space for many, many years. Thank you very much, Ruth. We'll let everyone go. Ruth, did you want to stay on with me for a moment afterwards? Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And we will see you at our next events.
I just thought it would be lovely just to say, Ruth, I think it was a brave conversation that real women really need to listen to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
You. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Radhika. You can log off now if you like. Great. Thank you so much. That was so good. Oh my God, that was so good. That was great. I'm so disappointed that, well, you know what? I wasn't sure how many people would come, but I think that the people that
No.
did come got a lot out of that. You had quite a few individuals there that are in this position right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it just happens all of a sudden. Like my girlfriend Sharon, her mum and dad have been both of ours grown-ups forever. And now suddenly they're old and we're the grown-ups. And we don't know how
Yep.
that happened, how her mum and dad, who were invincible, suddenly can't do stuff. And you know, it's been a real shock all around. And for both of us who are, you know, we talk about this stuff all the time, but we let her mum and dad slip through. And suddenly they're old and in need, and none of her siblings have had the conversations about how they manage her parents. So, you know,
Yep.
it's very well to have the theory. It's about putting it in practice too, isn't it?
It's what I find. Well, I'm not you know what? My parents are both gone. Stuart's parents are both gone. Stuart's gone. Jackson's 28, living out of home. I'm not in that situation at all. But I do know, I do recall, because Stu's mum had bipolar, so it was always a drama, but he would sort that. We had a very different relationship, you know all about it. So
But
it's
great and terrible that we can use Stu's behaviour with his mum as an example. It should be the norm, shouldn't it?
yeah, it should be. It
You
should
know,
be.
yeah. And you know, it's interesting when I look at, you know, Michael's family dynamic. Michael's you know, pretty evolved, pretty good. But it's really interesting that the default in their family is that Michael, who doesn't have his own family, has to do everything for mum, which makes me feel a bit shitty because I feel a little bit like Michael's family. And Michael's got my mum and my kids. So that sounds and looks a little bit like a family. But the default is that single Michael does all the jobs.
Yeah, but that's just a deflection of
Yeah.
responsibility by the siblings, right? Oh, my life's just too busy. I've got the kids, I've got this, I've got that. You don't have anybody. I mean, that's a bit
It's a bit, yeah, it's a different kind of rude, isn't it?
yeah, but it's been happening for a lot longer than it should. That's why.
Yeah, no, that's it. I took a firm position a few Christmases ago that I was no longer at 60 going to sleep on the floor on Christmas night. I wasn't going to camp in the lounge room and have everybody with weak bladders stepping over me during the night to get to the toilet. I was over that period in my life.
Yep. Hang on 1 second. Someone's trying to call me, and I just.
Oh, do you want to go? Go.
No. No. It's my niece, and she's just. Let me just. I'm not sure why she's calling. She knows that I'm on a web, or she might not know I'm on a webinar. She's thinking it's possibly over, but yeah.
Are you on Facebook?
Mm.
So what I'll do is
Do you want me to link with you on Facebook?
Yeah.
All right. Let me find you.
Yeah, I'll look. Shall I look for you? Are you are you unsecured on Facebook? Don't know where only because my Facebook's I've got my work Facebook account and my own Facebook.
Is this your
No,
that's work, is it?
One. That's the work one. Yeah.
I don't know how locked down I've got my Facebook. I can't even remember.
But it's Mary Beth. It's your.
Yep.
Well, I'll have a look and I'll see. But otherwise, if I can't, I'll make sure I see.
Mary-Beth.
Yeah.
That's what my page looks like. So there's an animated picture of me and then the cats. So
okay. Well, I will invite you to the group, the event group, for the event. That just gives you dates and times and everything. But separate to that, I'll reach out. I actually spoke to Glenn the other day about having a chat and whether they're coming to the bonfire as well. So they're on notice that there's more than socialising to be done. This, you know, next generation.